Вітаємо, колеги. Український кризовий медіа-центр продовжує свою роботу. І зараз я запрошую до слова Саймона Хеншо, керівника управління Державного департаменту США з питань населення, міграції та біженців. Please, Mr. Henshaw.
Thank you very much. Coming today. This is my first trip to Ukraine. I've had a wonderful 4 days here. It's provided me an important opportunity to learn about the needs and challenges of Ukrainians affected by Russia's occupation of Crimea and continued aggression to the east. As you well know, the conflict has had a severe impact on the humanitarian situation in the Donbass. Over 2 million Ukrainians have been displaced. An estimated 5 million are in need of assistance. Nearly 7,000 people have died and 15,000 people have been injured. The people in the conflict areas have experienced a mass destruction of property necessary to live, homes, schools, and hospitals. They've also seen disruption of basic services, including water, healthcare, and sanitation. Many, many thousands have lost their ability to earn a living, depriving of their ability to meet their most basic needs. As a result, civilians are increasingly forced to seek assistance and refuge elsewhere. The Ukrainian government has taken important steps to mitigate humanitarian consequences of displacement by passing legislation to expand the access to services and provide some assistance. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Ukrainian government for its support of international organizations and governments, including the Red Cross, in shipments across the conflict line. These efforts clearly demonstrate the government's commitment to support all Ukrainian citizens in need. Ukrainian people and business owners, volunteer organizations have opened their homes and shelters to displaced relatives, friends, strangers, all of those in need. These measures are important and commendable. They have provided a lifeline to many thousands of people. The United States, however, recognizes that the needs are great, and continued support from the international community is critical to sustaining Ukraine's response. That is why today I'm pleased to announce the United States is providing an additional $18 million in humanitarian assistance. This brings the total amount of humanitarian aid the United States has provided to more than $60 million since the beginning of this crisis. This funding will help key international humanitarian organizations and their partners to provide emergency shelter, household items, and to provide assistance to the most vulnerable conflict victims and internally displaced persons in eastern Ukraine. Of course, humanitarian assistance is not enough. Our position continues to be that the implementation of the Minsk Agreement is the best solution to this humanitarian crisis. And so we urge Russia and the separatists it backs to implement fully the agreements which bear their signature. We will judge Russia and the separatists it backs by actions, not by words. Thank you very much. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Колеги, прошу запитання. Чи є запитання залу? Mr. Henshaw, Ukraine Crisis Media Center has the first question. What are the results of your meetings and talks with the Ukrainian officials that you had during your visit to Ukraine?
I've had excellent talks with Ukrainian officials, both at the oblast level and at the national level, and I have a few more to go today. The talks have been as with any talks with a friendly ally, good talks, honest talks. We've talked through the steps that have been taken so far to help those displaced and the needs that remain and what the United States and the international community can do to help these needs.
Thank you. Колеги, прошу запитання. Чи є запитання? Так, є. Oh, you have a question here.
Ruslan Denichenko, Voice of America. Can you please clarify if this assistance will be in monetary form or goods and services, and when you expect the first delivery of goods, for example?
Right. This assistance will be in the form of money, to international organizations which are already engaged and working in Ukraine to continue to, so they can continue to operate.
They will deliver goods?
Well, it will be in different forms. There's some of the money will go to ICRC, which is obviously delivering goods and doing other things, to IOM, which is delivering goods and providing other kinds of assistance, and also there's a money to UNF, the Population Fund, the UN Population Fund, which will support a gender-based violence program that they're carrying out.
Колеги, прошу запитання. Mr. Henshaw, another question from Ukraine Crisis Media Center. Based on the U.S. experience of tackling humanitarian crises all over the world, what would be your major recommendations to Ukrainian government in that regard? How to use this assistance most efficiently?
I would urge the Ukrainian government to work with international organizations and international NGOs, Ukrainian NGOs, and volunteer associations. I think with everyone working together, the results will be much better with them people working separately. So I think coordination with these groups will encourage them to continue working and will encourage an increase of foreign donations to this cause.
The question that goes hands in hands, how the U.S. government will ensure that this assistance is spent most efficiently and no misconduct is...
That's an excellent question. Thank you for that. I represent the Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration of the State Department. We've existed for many years, and we work in similar crises all around the world. We've worked with these organizations before. We know them well. We highly respect them, and we have a good system of monitoring their work. We have full faith in them.
Thank you. As you probably know, similarly to the fact that we didn't have an army 1 year ago, and it basically emerged from the scratch over the last year, we didn't have an efficient emergency response system in the country, and it was majorly supported by volunteers, by different volunteer movements, ordinary people who joined such volunteer initiatives and gathered money and clothes and medicine to help, for example, those who suffered. How do you see the system today? Do you think that Ukrainian emergency response and crisis response system today is efficient enough, and what would be your recommendation to improve it?
The Ukrainian government is facing severe challenges. This is a crisis that would bring almost any government into crisis, with a large portion of its territory being taken over by Russian-backed separatists. So I think, and it's even worse for a government that's new, so they face many, many challenges. I think they're doing very well with what they have, and I think we are committed to continuing to work with them so that we can address these challenges. Many of these challenges are non-humanitarian, and it's not really my place today to comment on them. Some of the humanitarian challenges, I think, include increased support for IDPs, who are internally displaced persons, who need both food and shelter, and increased employment support. There are a lot of people out there looking for jobs who can't find jobs. And also some what we call psychosocial support for those that have been traumatized by the war. These are all areas that we can work. I also think there's a area that needs more attention, which is gender-based violence in any conflict zone. There's typically a certain degree of gender-based violence, and that needs to be paid more attention to make sure we're aware of the situation and doing all we can to stop it.
Thank you. We always often talk here about so-called Ukraine fatigue in the West, among the Western media, among the Western governments, and just some recent publications, for example, in New York Times just prove it, because they talk about Russia that is predictably aggressive and Ukraine that is unpredictable and unreliable. As a person who is dealing with the Ukrainian government, what can you say to that?
I'm not fatigued. I will continue to work to do all I can to support the humanitarian needs of this country. My government is not fatigued. We are committed to continuing to help the Ukrainian government in humanitarian issues and in all other issues that it faces today. And we will continue to urge our allies to do the same.
Thank you for this optimistic comment. Are there any questions among the audience? Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Henshaw.
Thank you very much.